Hey, folks. Thanks so much for checking into the Neutral Zone Hotel. We are an unapologetically left-leaning podcast that discusses hockey at its best and worst. I'm Benjamin. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a Montreal Canadiens and Ottawa Charge fan. Thrilled to welcome you to the Neutral Zone Hotel. Here to make your stay a memorable one are a couple of my colleagues, starting with SJ.
Hi, my name is SJ. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a Seattle Kraken Everett Silver Tips PWHL Seattle fan.
You're a fan of a team that doesn't even have any players yet?
Look, they got to start somewhere. Geographically speaking, they just automatically get me. That's how I pick my teams.
Closest available?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of convenience.
That's fair. And also joining us today is Leif. Hey, Leif, how are you?
He's eating a cookie. So I felt it was necessary to finally get around to formally introducing my dog on the podcast because his pronouns are he, him. He is very much a part of the podcast. You've certainly heard him before, panting heavily underneath my audio track directly into the microphone. Very difficult to cut that out. Maybe you've heard his collar jingling. Maybe you've heard him bark or just generally make noise. He is very much a part of the podcast and will not be denied any longer. Yeah.
And if you're interested in hanging out with Leif, you can do that by joining our Discord at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord, where pictures and occasionally video of Leif make it onto the podcast Discord fairly regularly.
That's right.
Well, speaking of PWHL Seattle, today, which is the 3rd of June, the 6 teams announced their protected players. So I'll go over it very quickly. Maybe we'll do one team at a time and we can talk about any surprises. So we'll start with the Fleet, which was Aaron Frankel, Megan Keller, and Alina Mueller.
Yeah, the biggest surprise for the Fleet is that they did not protect Captain Hilary Knight. Hilary Knight is getting on in years. She's announced that this upcoming Olympics will be her last, although she will continue playing in the PWHL. And she was also incredibly good this year. She had a pretty rough year 1 in the PWHL. People were talking about her being ultra cooked. And then in year 2, she was an MVP candidate. Did she win the scoring title? I don't recall if she won it.
She had the most points, yeah.
Yeah. So basically reports of her demise were premature. So this is, I think the Fleet were in a tough spot if they wanted to protect both Keller and Mueller. They had to pick a forward, and they picked Mueller over Knight. There's certainly some speculation that she wants to go out west. I don't know how real that is.
Yeah, it's impossible to tell. We certainly don't have any sources close to Hilary Knight. Hilary, if you're listening, you can join our Discord and let us know what your thoughts are. I would say Hilary Knight has earned the right to go where she wants to go. So she's apparently from Sun Valley, Idaho, or at least that's what she calls her hometown.
Only on her Team USA bio. I am not convinced.
Elite Prospects too.
Which I'm sure they got from her Team USA bio. I am not convinced she has ever lived in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Yeah, her Wikipedia page says she was born in Palo Alto and then moved to Chicago and then eventually Connecticut, when she played all of her junior high school and high school hockey in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. So she definitely did not live in Sun Valley, Idaho at that period of time. This is now a podcast investigating the mysterious origins of Team USA captain Hilary Knight. All right.
Please do not stalk Hilary Knight.
Yeah, don't. Just leave her alone. Yeah. But in all seriousness, if she wants to go out west, she's earned the right to do so.
Yeah.
My guess would be that she's probably already had conversation. If that is what's happening, she's probably already had conversations with most likely Seattle, and they'll probably offer her a contract as she can be signed. And if you can get a 3-year commitment from Hilary Knight to come to your new team and build a new team, I think that's something you do, especially since Boston has a captain in waiting in Megan Keller and a superstar forward with Liam Mueller.
Mm-hmm.
I can see her saying, I've done my job here. It's time for me to go out west.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. I have kind of mixed feelings about it just because she is, you know, is an aging player. It's like, I agree that her kind of being the face of the franchise would be great for the fan base. I'm not convinced that that's the right choice if you really want to win championships. And winning championships builds a fan base. So I don't know. I guess I could kind of go either way on this.
I think if you want ticket sales, Hilary Knight's the person to get. I do not believe she will be meaningfully cooked, at least during the first year. So you might as well go for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think she's a good choice. All right. The Frost protect Kendall Coyne Schofield, Taylor Heisey, and Lee Steckline.
I am thrilled that they did not protect Sophie Jakes. I definitely would love to steal Jakes. Another great steal from Minnesota is Grace Zumwinkle. Would love either or both of those players. So I agree they had to protect Schofield. Schofield essentially runs the team. I'm sure she mandated that she be protected. Steckline, elite defenders don't grow on trees. And Heisey is their number 1C with a bullet. So this is a protection list that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm thrilled that we can steal possibly Jakes and or Zumwinkle.
If Sophie Jakes is still on the Frost by like our next recording, I will be blown away.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I strongly think she's going. I think Zumwinkle gets a very, very strong look. I understand why Lee Steckline is a very, very good defender, elite level, like you said. Mm-hmm. She's not young.
No.
And the thing that gets me is you're really going to pick her over. If she is your top defender with a bullet, sure. But this is a team that has Claire Thompson. It has Sophie Jakes. I cannot understand why you're protecting her over Jakes.
Yeah.
And to me, that speaks more of the who's actually running this team.
I mean, I'm sure that Schofield and Klee were like, well, we can't trade Steckline. That's our core of our team. Like, I very much think, I believe they see her much more as a core player. And this is simply a history from a history standpoint and going much far before the Minnesota Frost existed.
Do you think
Jakes.
Either Seattle or Vancouver will pick Britta Curl?
I don't know. I really don't. I hope not. I really hope not. I don't want her. She's a great player. I don't want her. You know, I'm sure Trevor would say the same for Vancouver. But I just don't know how either of our new GMs, Turner and what is her name? I'm blanking. I am going to learn the new GM's names, but until then, I don't know how she is really viewed in the league, and I don't know if like Jaina Hefford, Gardner Moray, thank you. I don't know if like Hefford has some view on this that she maybe relayed to them. Turner came from the Fleet. I'm sure she knows all about the situation. Gardner Moray came from the NCAA. I don't know how she feels about it, not having that inside view, what they were advised, how they feel about these markets. I can't begin to guess.
My feeling is that she will not move. I think that even if we take out the transphobicness of it, I think that her on-ice discipline issues make her a huge risk.
I agree. But I've also I can't get over how much the league seems willing to look the other way on a lot of the on-ice stuff as well.
I'm still pretty sore about that knee-on-knee hit on Katerina Mrazova.
Yeah,
that was
you.
A dirty hit. The Victoire protect Henri Desbiens, Marie-Philippe Poulin, and Laura Stacey. I think this is as expected.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there was a slim possibility they might have taken protected Ambrose over Desbiens, but they decided to go with their Team Canada goalie. I can't blame them for making that choice. But I suspect Ambrose is probably the fourth protection slot. So we'll see if things get that far. I'm sure she has a significant contract regardless. And you can't break up Poulin and Stacey. It was going to be both of them. It was always going to be both of them.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Kayla Barnes is going to be the excellent number 1D wherever Sophie Jakes doesn't go, I think.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Because if one team picks Jakes or Barnes, the other team has to pick the other one.
Mm-hmm.
The Sirens protect Fillier, Shelton, and Micah Zandy Hart.
Yeah, makes total sense. Zandy Hart's their captain. I think you made a good point on the mock draft episode that, maybe you don't want that the captain of the Sirens because that franchise seems to be a bit of a mess. But I understand why they picked her. Of course, they had to pick Fillier, and Shelton's a great player. I'm not sure why you really wanted 2D off the Sirens, but I might have gone for Carpenter.
I would have protected Carpenter. I think Carpenter's a lock to go west. I expect her to be a Seattle player. I
would lose it if we got Carpenter in Seattle. I love Alex Carpenter.
You're gonna get an Alex Carpenter jersey if she comes?
Well, I mean, if they want to sell me one, maybe. Yeah. They seem reluctant to sell jerseys in the PWHL.
Ottawa protects Emily Clark, Gwyneth Phillips, Rania Savalainen.
You nailed this.
I got it. Yeah, I got that. It was the same theory. The rumor is that they didn't pick Ashton Bell because she had a bit of a down year, plus she's on a larger value contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the exact right pick. I expect Teresa Vanashova to be offered a contract.
Yeah, she's a free agent, so she'll go in the window.
But if you're assuming that one of Bell or Mashmeyer or both are moving from Ottawa during the draft, Vanashova might stick it out to try to get a bigger money contract in Ottawa.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep, they announced today that Carla McLeod is remaining the coach of the Czech women's team.
Oh, okay. Well, they did fine this year at Worlds. You just made a funny face.
Well, they made fourth. They really wanted to get that bronze medal.
Yeah, that would have been ideal. As far as that, you mentioned Mashmeyer likely to move. I gotta say, I would really prefer Schroeder over Mash. Mashmeyer's a great goalie. No disrespect at all. I'd still take Schroeder over her. If nothing else, she should be cheaper.
I kind of expect both of them to be moving.
But then like Rooney is also available out of Minnesota, and
but Rooney's a free agent. She controls her fate.
Yeah, that's true. But Hensley has one of those big contracts in Minnesota. who knows? Ken Klee might be a total idiot and decide, yeah, we're gonna hand out 2 big money contracts to both of our goalies.
Ken Klee's not the GM of that franchise. Wink, wink.
Yeah,
wink.
I'm not gonna pretend. You know that Klee is the one who is doing roster management in that. They went out and they hired a GM who has absolutely no experience managing a team or doing roster management. She is a business person. So I'm not going to pretend otherwise unless I am shown evidence to the contrary.
Just there to sign the contracts. Yeah, I agree. The Scepters protect Renata Fast, Blair Turnbull, and Daryl Watts. Again, Jordan, well done. You nailed it. I think you got this. Your extremely detailed thought process was exactly correct. Do you think someone's going to take Sarah Nurse?
I made this argument on a Kraken Discord today. I think that Sarah Nurse is a second liner on the Scepters on the downslope of a career. She had a rough year due to injury. I doubt that she wants to move, considering all of the sponsorship opportunities she has in Toronto. She makes far more money in sponsorship than she does in salary. I'll be surprised, I guess. And I certainly don't see Seattle taking her.
Yeah, I don't think she moves. Emma Malte, I think, is going to be a target.
Yeah, I could see Malte moving, absolutely.
Did you see the speaking of promotional stuff? Did you see the Cadbury ad I posted with Marie-Philippe Poulin on one side and Nazem Kadri on the other?
I did.
all I could think of was like, these aren't equals. One of these is more famous than the other.
Yeah, just a little bit. No disrespect to Nazem Kadri, good player, but he's no Marie-Philippe Poulin. Yeah,
exactly. So before this podcast goes live, we will enter the exclusive signing period in which Seattle and Vancouver can sign unprotected players, both free agents and UFA, RFAs, and
currently signed players.
Yeah, currently signed players. So they can offer contracts to those players. So we most likely will probably hear our first signings tomorrow. It's absolutely going to be Jen Gardner, right? Like with a bullet. Signs right at noon.
I anticipate as much. I would not be surprised at all. Jen Gardner's, there's a reason that Trevor and I both wanted her. Yeah.
She's gone. I think Hannah Miller's gone.
Yeah, Hannah Miller. Absolutely.
But after that, I really don't know what's going to happen. And honestly, even though my team's going to lose some players, I'm trying to be extremely zen about this whole thing. We're going to get some cool players in the draft. We're going to sign some cool players. It is an exciting time to see 2 new teams be built.
Yeah, the league is going to be different next year. It is very much going to be a different league. I'm really hoping that spreading out the goaltending talent more is going to make a real positive effect on goal scoring across the league. We're going to have, people are going to have to play up from position in the lineup more than they've ever done before. The quote unquote inaugural 6 are going to have to play more of their lineup than they have before. I think it's going to be. Honestly, I think we're going to see a better product, a more fun product next year. I'm really, really excited. And not just because Seattle is getting a team.
Roughly 30 players who were taken in the entry draft last year entered the league. Others did not sign, did not stick, ended up as reserves. But roughly 30 players made it to at least a few games in the show.
Mm-hmm.
We are adding 50 new roster slots. We are going to see some retirements. Victoria Bach, I think, is the first to officially announce her retirement. Thank you for your service to the Ottawa Charge. We are going to see some players, I think, who were in the league last year who got pushed out by those 30 try to come back. There are other free agents who have a chance to show up. And then we are drafting six rounds of 8 players. I will be at the draft. Actually, I will miss the record that day, but I will probably record something to throw in. I will be traveling on that Friday, but we'll figure this out. I'll find a way to call in. But that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, so it's going to be a much different league, but like bare minimum, it feels like 20 jobs in this league are going to be spread out. So that's like going to eliminate middle sixes. Players that are currently on the bottom 6 are going to move up to the middle 6. It's going to be really interesting. And I'm really excited because spreading that talent out, I think, is going to help. And I do not believe this is the end of the process. I think we're going through this again next year, the year after.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be an 8-team league for very long.
I agree. And the last thing, the PWHL Players Association announced today that they have overwhelmingly voted in favor of disclosing their salary. So this was reported by Haley Salvian of The Athletic.
Shout out, Haley.
Yeah, Haley is awesome.
Yep. I was super excited to see this. So if you don't follow the PWHL too closely, you probably don't realize that the PWHL PA quite recently got a new director. In the first 18 months or so, Brian Burke was serving as the director. I think he was very much a placeholder kind of candidate. He wasn't there to really rock the boat or do anything interesting. Until they kind of found the person that they wanted to take forward. And that is a woman by the name of Malika Underwood. I cannot at this moment remember anything about her. I should have looked this up beforehand. Quick, Benjamin, Google. So I kind of think of this as maybe the first big change that we have seen with the PA under Underwood. She said, I'm proud of the players. It's a huge step in the right direction in terms of transparency, was her quote. And this is a decision that the players made very much to empower themselves in contract negotiations. When salaries are secret, what you don't have is leverage, and they needed it. So this is going to be a huge benefit, I think, to the players and also to the fans. I, for one, am extremely ready to get angry about how much money players make relative to their production. I don't know. It's just fun.
So Malika Underwood is a former member of the United States National Women's Baseball Team. She medaled in the 2006 Women's Baseball World Cup, where she won gold, as well as winning 2 bronze, 2 silver. She also medaled at the Pan American Games in Toronto in 2015 with gold. She has a master's in sports administration from UNC. And she has worked in multiple commercial sports entities, including on the licensing side and on agent side. She's had experience with the WNBPA, the NWSLPA, the MLBPA, the NFLPA, so men's and women's sports organizations. So this is somebody who has never played hockey, does not have any experience with hockey, but clearly has a lot of experience with player organizing.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge, huge boon. So very clearly here, the team, the PA is already looking towards 2031. So the CBA that was signed in 2024 is 8 years and runs through 2032. During the finals, during an interview, Stan Kasten said the league is on track to be profitable by 2031. obviously we have no idea. We don't know what's going on inside the league. They're not going to share that money. This is not a league like the NHL where individual owners run the franchise. It's one owner. They could be lying. They could be telling the truth. But I think that year is very intentional, because if the league is profitable in 2031, that the players are going to very obviously want a larger chunk of the revenue than they are getting now. It is significantly unlikely that the players are getting anywhere close to a good percentage of the revenue. We've talked about this before, but like 2 years ago in the WNBA, the players were receiving 9% of the revenue, compared to 50% in the NBA and the NHL. So it's very likely that they're starting the process of gearing up for that year. I do not expect them to get 50% of the revenue out of the gate, but I do expect them to get a reasonable cut, a much more reasonable cut. And I would not be surprised if they do similar moves to continue to amp up that public pressure.
Yep.
Similar to how what's happened with the WNBA PA.
We're acronym salad.
WNBPA?
I don't.
Something like that.
The Players Association of the WNBA. Yeah, so just to give you an idea of what the players are making now, according to the collective bargaining agreement, the 25-26 salary cap is $1.34 million, with minimum salaries set at $37,131.50. Yes, there are absolutely going to be players making the minimum, $37,000. And trying to live in some very expensive cities on that, there is a supplement for housing costs, however.
$1,600 American a month right now.
Yeah.
Going up to $1,700 next year.
And each team's average salary has to be $58,349.50 in order to be cap compliant. I doubt they actually have to hit that right on the penny, but yeah. So it's not a lot of money. It's tough to be a professional athlete on that low amount of money. This is certainly a reason why these ladies are continuing to stick out their college careers and walk away with useful degrees, because they are not going to be able to retire on their PWHL salaries.
So when you include the housing supplement, it gets closer to around $52,000, $53,000 a year minimum, which is in US dollars in Canada is above the national average, right? Mm-hmm. And it's comparatively close to the national average. Now, that doesn't mean it's what educated players should be making. But what I found was really interesting was the average salary in the WNBA was like $110,000 US.
Yeah.
But their rosters are half the size.
Absolutely.
Which means that as per team, the PWHL is paying out roughly the same amount as the WNBA was 2 years ago, which tells you a little bit. And we know that was 9% of the revenues and how big. Now, that's before the Caitlin Clark experience hit the WNBA, which I think has juiced revenue significantly.
I hope so.
I think we're likely going to see stuff like that happen as well. So it's interesting. I certainly think it's a good idea to publicize the salaries. I certainly hope that we end up with a situation in the NHL where the salaries are public knowledge. A couple things to keep in mind from those numbers earlier. The minimum and average go up 3% every year, according to the CBA. Players who are making a league minimum deal and have a contract for the next year would get, you can't be signed to a deal. If you were on a short, it's got to go at least up to the league minimum. Mm-hmm. That means the average will increase as a dollar value higher because it's percentage based. But ultimately, I think if you are in a job and you get a 3% a year raise guaranteed for the next 7 years, that's not a bad deal. But if you are a sports player in a league that's attempting to bring in huge amounts of revenue, I think that this is something I think I understand why they agreed to it. Stability to build the league. But the generation of players that are coming in now who are hopefully sticking for a long time, like Sarah Fillier, Danielle Serdachny, the group that's going to come this year, they will be in that leadership position when the next CBA fight comes. The people who led the last one will not be there. There won't be any Poulins or Heise or Coins or Knights. So,
I mean, Heise might still be.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say Heise. There's Coin and there's Heise, and they're 5-letter Minnesota forwards, and my brain confuses them all the time. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. It's a longer CBA than we see generally. The conditions are not particularly favorable to the players, but I think that the success of the league is going to be very telling on what they want. I still would not be surprised if there's an MOU signed partway through to give the players like a raise. It probably won't be a huge one, maybe a couple $1,000 per, and raise the minimums.
If they add games, and I would not be surprised if they add games to the season, they will have to give them a raise. There's no way that the players are going to agree to play 40 games a year without more money.
The CBA allows for 32, and we believe they're playing 30 next year. But if they want to go to, say, 36, now you have to negotiate, and that's where the players say, well, give us all more money. And that's where I think that sort of adjustment would be made. I guess we'll have to see. Now, to be fair to the league, they're about to increase their player expenditures by 33%, which is a big bump in labor costs for any. And that's not just obviously players, that's front office, all those expenditures go up. So the money is clearly there to justify that level of expansion. I don't know, it's good, but I'm really interested to see, especially as we go through the next few years, what happens the closer we get to that 2031 profitability marker that Stan Kasten has laid out.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting.
All right, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NHL, that other league people watch sometimes. But in the meantime, hey, we're on Instagram and Bluesky at neutralzonehotel.com. No, just Neutral Zone Hotel. We don't have the .com thing figured out for Bluesky yet. We're also on YouTube /Neutral Zone Hotel. You can join our Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. And please, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, hit the like button, 5 stars, whatever it is on your platform. Show us some love. Our last episode was our most popular episode, and we want to thank anybody who listened to that episode and is now listening to this one. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back. So the coaching carousel in the NHL continues to spin. Most teams have figured out. I don't get it. Is the coach getting on the carousel? Is the team getting off the carousel? I don't know. But most teams have figured this out. The Penguins are still looking, but Seattle, Chicago, and Boston have found their quote-unquote guy. Lane Lambert in Seattle. SJ, how are you feeling about Lane Lambert?
I'm not excited, but I don't know that there was a name that would have made me excited. So whatever, it's fine, I guess. I just have to hope for the best. I think at the end of the day, the Seattle's problems go far beyond coaching. So unless Botterill makes real changes to the roster this year, then it doesn't matter if we got the best coach in the world. The team is still going to suck. So yeah, this isn't what I'm holding out for. It is what it is.
I think he had an okay year where he dragged the Islanders to a playoff spot. And those Lou rosters have been underwhelming for a long time. But I don't know. I don't think that, like you said, I don't think the issue is something a coach can fix. I guess we'll see. But Jason Botterill got his guy.
That's right.
All right. Speaking of the Islanders hire Mathieu Darche from an AGM position for the Lightning, and he has said that Patrick Waugh will remain. Do you believe this is just because he likes having someone around who speaks French, or do you think there's more to it than that?
I think that the trend has been when hiring new general managers around the league in the past 4 years, they keep the coach. If there is one, there usually is, because GMs very much have a number of coaches they seem to be allowed these days. And so basically they're allowed whoever's been there. And then they get two more coaching hires. And then after that, if they haven't figured it out, they're out. So the keeping Waugh on is low risk for them. The Islanders' problems are very much roster. If as long as they can still fire Waugh if he really clashes with Darche, if Darche is unhappy with him. The pickings as far as coaching hires this year, I think, were not great as well. So I'm not sure there was a clear upgrade out there either.
Mathieu Darche has already made some moves as general manager. He extended, what's his name? Guy.
Yeah, so there were two extensions. I've also forgotten who they were, but
I should have been more ready for this. Yeah, so if you're a new listener, this is what it's generally like. So yes, he extended Kyle Palmieri 2 years, $4.75 million, age 34. Full no move on the first year, 16-team no trade on the second year. And he signed Adam Boquist to an $850,000 deal.
These deals were both widely reported by Elliot Friedman as having been made before Darche was brought on, and he was not given a choice about sending these into the league. They were in place.
So they were signed and they were in Lou's famous drawer.
They were in Lou's drawer. Yeah, so you can't put these on Darche. I don't think they're terrible deals. Probably, maybe they should stop giving out full new move clauses to old players, though.
Did you see that the last thing Lou did before he got fired was extend his son as the general manager of the Bridgeport Islanders?
I didn't hear that, and that's horrific. Of course they did.
Isn't that fucking funny? Holy shit.
I think that Darche should fire him anyway. Clean house on that score because, oh my gosh, terrible. He's so bad. Lou's still around is the thing. He is, he's in some kind of an advisory position, maybe he still seems to be on the payroll. I don't think that Darche would have taken the job if he was had to take marching orders from Lou, but he is not gone, and he still clearly has a lot of influence with ownership. And I've heard that there's kind of two owners on the Islanders, and one of them is very much a Lou guy, and the other one is very much not. So they are kind of fighting it out.
Just so you know, Chris Lamoriello, he has an incredibly bad track record as a general manager in the AHL. Last year, the Bridgeport Islanders won 15 games, 4 of which were at home.
Ouch.
Ooh, that's bad. Well, that's bad.
I've said it before. If you lose at home, you hate your fans. There's just no excuse for it.
Sure. Who's next? Chicago hires Jeff Blashill. Made the joke. All right. What do you think?
What was his past job?
He was the coach of the Detroit Red Wings for 7 seasons.
Right.
He had 1 playoff win in that period of time.
So yes, that's right. So this is kind of the guy that Yzerman was hoping would help his team grow and make the playoffs. And he never managed to do that. Obviously, that team also, again, had roster problems. But, like, he didn't really grow any... The thing about Detroit is that they were just terrible at player development for the past several years. Like they've had good results out of their first round picks, but you should always have good results out of your first round picks. If you can't get anything out of your depth picks, then what are you doing? And I don't know if that's scouting or development. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody really came along with Blashill.
It's not just that. They also had some mind-bogglingly bad cap situation, and that's before Yzerman took over. But there was just some dumb deals, like the 5-year Justin Abdelkader deal, and in essence, the team was poorly run. Ken Holland does a very good job treading water, but eventually the Pipers got to get paid. So that's kind of what that was. But Blashill was the coach for many years under Stevie Y, and I mean, those teams got worse. They bottomed out. The Detroit Red Wings team in the COVID shortened year, 1920, was on track to be the worst team of the lockout era, or the post-lockout era. Can't talk tonight. So, yeah, they're bad. I do not understand how this is the type of coach that's going to fix the ship. This is not a coach who ever had... Like, if you fired Luke Richardson because he wasn't getting through to Connor Bedard, this is not a coach that had a reputation of connecting with elite players, or indeed ever really coached any elite players. You know, if you're looking for someone who can make lemonade out of lemons, that's not the reputation he has. It's a very, very difficult hire to justify.
Who would you have liked to see Chicago go after? I mean, it's not David Carl, because they did go after him and he said no.
I would think Jay Woodcroft.
Really?
Yeah. Very good with star players.
You know what I kind of feel like with Jay Woodcroft? I think the league has kind of turned on him.
Yeah, he's done something. I don't know what.
And I mean, it might be as simple as you couldn't win with McDavid and Draisaitl on your roster. Like, that year that he got fired, they were at the bottom of the league in December. And it was unjustifiable. That was so. So I think that Woodcroft seriously needs to do is he needs to stop chasing NHL head coaching positions. He needs to go back to the A. He needs to get a job in the A. He needs to be successful at it. He needs to win a Calder Cup. And then I think they'll probably welcome him back, because I haven't heard a thing about this being like a conduct problem. Like, people don't seem to hate him. They don't think he's a bad guy. But I really do think that the massive collapse and then 180-degree turnaround after they put Knobloch in place is just a massive psychological barrier.
Yeah, well, could be. But sometimes new coaches actually do that, and you don't just get retreads. And in that case, Boston has hired former Boston Bruin Marco Sturm. Sturm is the head coach of the German national team. He was an assistant coach of the LA Kings for 3 years, and was the head coach of the Ontario Reign for the past 3 years. The Ontario Reign, of course, being the farm team of the LA Kings. He is now the head coach of the Boston Bruins. How do you feel about that?
I'm excited that kind of on two fronts. He's a first-time NHL head coach. It's nice to see new guys get into the league. Sometimes they don't work out, but you don't know until you actually try. He's had some success at previous levels as well. I think he's a good bet. The second part is it's really nice to see a European guy actually get a head coaching job. There are quite a few stuck in assistants positions. We've seen some get interim jobs and then not be given the full-on job. I just feel like there's a real glass ceiling for these European guys and as far as head coaching and GM positions in the league. And it's bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. Sturm, of course, is a very North American trained player. Not a coach who came up through the European coaching ranks. But yeah, I think it's great to see a European player become a head coach without an interim tag. I don't know if anyone can juice that Boston roster. It's him, but I mean, that Boston roster is Jeremy Swayman, Charlie McAvoy, David Pastrnak, and 17 other guys in a trench coat.
That's not a bad place to start. I actually don't think it's that bad of a roster. I think they have a lot of pretty useful guys on there. What they really have is a problem at center. If they can take some real steps towards fixing their problems at center, a lot is going to fall into place for them. I honestly think they have a far more fixable situation than, say, Seattle does.
I guess we'll see. Good luck to Marco Sturm in Boston. It worked out for you once. Maybe you can do it again. Oh, he got traded, actually. I think he was part of the trade that... Yeah, so he never won the cup with them. Oh, that's sad. Good luck. Good luck, Marco Sturm. But not that much luck. I really don't want to see Boston win a cup. All right. Do you think Pete DeBoer is going to get fired for backstabbing yet another starting goaltender?
It's increasingly looking like not. I kind of feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But that decision to pull Ottinger after 2 shots, and then the way he pulled him and just like, and then not talking to him before exit interviews. And then what he said during exit interviews and, just kind of really blaming him for something I don't think was particularly his fault. I don't know. It's just kind of ugly. DeBoer has a real reputation for being a shit to his goalies, and it's genuinely well earned. I don't know. I think he needs to look inwards there.
All I'm saying is it's a lost opportunity that his agent is Ben Hankinson and not Alan Walsh.
Otter's agent. Well, it didn't need to be. It didn't need to be. People made the Photoshop edit themselves.
Fucking instantly. I remember seeing that Walsh one live, though, and it was so funny.
It will truly a part of a great and valued part of NHL lore is the Fleury with a sword in his back picture.
So Pete DeBoer has gone to the playoffs multiple times in his career. His last 6 playoff performances have all ended in the conference finals. He did miss the playoffs in 21-22 for Vegas. That's what got him fired. Would you take him if he was available for your coach?
Yeah, probably. I think that if DeBoer got fired, he would get rehired instantaneously.
Do you think that's what the Penguins are waiting for?
No. I think that Kyle Dubas went to World Championships and didn't do anything on the coaching search.
Kyle Dubas is just hanging out. Watching reruns of The Office or some shit.
I mean, they said that he did some Zoom interviews, but I don't think he got serious until they got back.
We interrupt this podcast with a breaking news bulletin. Hi, everyone. John here with some breaking news. A few weeks ago on this show, Alex made a prediction about who the Penguins would hire to replace Mike Sullivan. Her exact prediction was, I don't know, some guy whose name I don't know. Well, apparently Kyle Dubas has been interviewing head coach candidates, and Alex's prediction has come true. The Penguins have hired Dan Muse as their new coach. Okay. Welcome to Pittsburgh, Dan Muse.
All right. Oh, yeah, that'll end that discussion, but maybe we should just talk about the finals for a bit. How did you find the conference finals?
I didn't really watch the Carolina-Florida series. I did not find it that compelling. It was a real ass kicking, you know. The Carolina did not really show up until game 4, and they only sort of showed up for one game. And that game, I mean, it was like a 2-0 game. Like, the whole series was so low. I didn't feel it. So I did watch quite a bit of the Western Conference Final, the Stars and the Oilers. Even then, I didn't think it was that great, even though I did watch quite a bit of it. Yeah. I guess my Western Conference Final thoughts were Rantanen disappeared. Robertson showed up, but a little late, and then he was the only one who did. I don't know. It also did not feel particularly competitive at any point.
Both very anticlimactic for me. I am morally opposed to watching this version of the Carolina Hurricanes play hockey, so I didn't. Sam Bennett's still out?
Out? No.
I thought he was out at one point. Okay. Well,
he played. I think he played the whole series.
Zach Hyman's out.
Yep. Zach Hyman had wrist surgery, and he is going to miss the final.
But Matthias Ekholm is back.
Matthias Ekholm is back.
Who do you got?
I think this is a real coin flip series. It could absolutely go either way. Whichever team makes it out less injured, I think, is going to be the winner. And I am expecting some real dirty fucking plays. I am expecting some shenanigans. I am not going to be shocked at all if people are like, oh my God, why hasn't this guy been suspended? And the answer is it's the Stanley Cup Final and the league is a bunch of wimps. I'm just... Yeah, and you really don't know which version of Stuart Skinner is going to show up. The version of Stuart Skinner who is either 1,000 save percentage or 830 or less. That was very funny for a while it was happening. It was extremely. I mean, just bizarre.
Incredible content.
Yeah, he had a great Western Conference Final. He really showed up for that. But if something happens to Skinner, I believe Pickard is still injured. They don't have another goalie.
Yeah, it's
Olivier Rodrigue.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Rodrigue, right?
Yeah. He's a bench warmer.
And Bobrovsky's been really good. He's been really good the whole playoffs.
Yeah, Bobrovsky has absolutely been on it. I think he had one not great game, and that was kind of it.
To the point that if Bobrovsky, like the Panthers win and Bobrovsky pitches a shutout or two, I could see him winning the Conn Smythe.
Oh, absolutely. Bob is the front runner for the Conn Smythe for the Florida by far, and I think that has a lot to do with how spread out the scoring has been for Florida. Everyone's scoring for Florida.
Yeah.
So there's
fair, that's also true in Edmonton.
Yeah. Although there is not a Florida player who has been so far and away, above like Connor McDavid has.
Well, McDavid and Draisaitl definitely are pacing that team. No, I agree. I think Bobrovsky is by far the most logical candidate.
I think there is a real sentiment at this stage that McDavid could win again regardless of who wins.
Well, he is Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the look on his face if he had to accept a Conn Smythe trophy in a losing effort again?
Well, he didn't. He didn't accept it the first time.
I know. He'd be so salty.
He would be. I don't think he would come out for it again.
Well, he's no Gwyneth Phillips. Although Gwyneth, the look on her face, she was having none of it.
I mean, she still stood there for the picture.
She stood there just with the meanest mug I've ever seen on her. But the whole team stayed out to applaud her, which I thought was an incredibly sweet and classy thing. And they, in their postseason interviews, they mentioned how important it was to support her for the way she pulled the charge through. This is not supposed to be about the charge.
I think here's what I think that happens if McDavid wins again in a losing effort. I think they rush the trophy onto the ice. Like, they book it with that trophy onto the ice. Like, they don't wait for the table to get set up or the carpet. They're like, McDavid is still in the handshake line. And they're like bursting on like Kool-Aid Man with that trophy to force him to take it.
They have a couple linebackers standing in the tunnel to stop the entire Oilers team from leaving.
That's right.
Yeah. That would also be very funny. Gary Bettman running out onto the ice trying to do his little not Gary Bettman,
Daly
doing the pre-speech, like, congratulations to all the owners. We're here to announce the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy, Connor McDavid, the Edmonton Oilers. Congratulations, Connor.
Get in the picture, Dave. Picture.
They're just taking a picture of Connor McDavid, like skating away with it, just dangling by one of the big Leafs behind Maple Leaf Gardens.
Now I want this to happen.
Yeah, that would be Bill Daly. I know you listen. Make it happen, buddy. Make it happen. I think the Oilers are going to do it. Oilers in 7. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think it very much could go 7 again. They got to be hoping for it.
7. I thought last year was a fantastic series, just from a perspective of having some great hockey to watch. I really hope it goes 7.
Yeah. I don't know how much of it I'm going to watch this year, to be honest.
Oh, I'm going to watch. I'm excited.
Okay.
Anytime you have the best player in the world on the biggest stage, it's worth watching. So one of the things that's interesting about this year is that it is a repeat of the previous year's finalists. And I thought, just as a little treat, since we're running late on time, so I'll do this quickly, John, don't yell at me. I thought we would touch on some of the previous times where the finalists repeated. So obviously I'm not going back to the Challenge Cup era. That would be silly. But once the NHL took ownership of the Cup exclusively in 1927, it also never happened in the NHL versus PCHA era. The first time there was a repeat was 1932 and 1933 between the Leafs and the Rangers, with legendary coaches Dick Irvin for the Leafs and Lester Patrick of the Lester Patrick Award for the Rangers. The Leafs win the first cup, the Rangers the second. Ace Bailey scored the first cup winner in a Leaf sweep, and that was his last ever Stanley Cup playoff goal. He was forced to retire after Eddie Shore broke his skull in December of 1932. And as a result, they organized the first ever All-Star game to raise funds for him a few years later. So we have the All-Star game because Ace Bailey got his skull broken by Eddie Shore of the Bruins. Bill Cook's cup-winning goal in 33 was the first ever cup winner in overtime.
Oh.
There you go. It didn't happen again until 1948-49. Leafs versus Wings. The Leafs won both matchups. The Leafs became the first team to sweep 2 consecutive finals. 1948 was notable for the finals debut of a young player named Gordie Howe. And in 1949, the Leafs became the first team to three-peat. So they had won the Cup the year before as well.
You mean, wait a minute. Whoa. Are you telling me the Toronto Maple Leafs used to win championships?
They won many championships.
I don't believe it.
Telling you.
Wow. Shocking.
So obviously this is the original six era. There are a lot less teams, so it happens quite a bit in this period. But in 54, 55, 56, it was the Wings versus the Montreal Canadiens. The only time there's been the same finalist 3 times.
Okay.
1954 was the last time Game 7 was decided in overtime. So that's the mythical Game 7 overtime Stanley Cup winning goal. It's been 71 years. 1955 was impacted by the famous Maurice Richard suspension that led to the Richard riot.
Man. Hockey's weird.
The Detroit Red Wings won that one. And in 1956, the Montreal fans were looking for revenge. Richard scores the Cup winner in Game 5. This is the beginning of the only 5 consecutive championship streak, which the Montreal Canadiens have. So during that streak, they faced the Bruins twice and the Leafs twice. It's not particularly interesting. 1963 and 1964, the Leafs faced the Red Wings. And we won't be talking about the Leafs anymore after that, because this is talking about the finals. Really interestingly, in 1968 and 1969, it happened again. You would think right after expansion it wouldn't, but the Habs were obviously still very good. The NHL put all the expansion teams into one division, so the best of those expansion teams just kept winning, which is the Blues.
I mean, also, like, the expansion rules were just awful, and they were all garbage. terrible teams.
Terrible teams. But the Blues had a really good goaltender in, was it Turk Broda? Oh my God. Glenn Hall. Yeah. Doug Harvey and Dickie Moore. The Canadiens, of course, had Jean Beliveau, Yvon Cornier, Dick Duff, Jacques Lapierre, Jacques Lemaire, Henri Richard, Serge Savard, Rogie Vachon, Gump Worsley. But the Blues had Scotty Bowman, who would become the winningest coach in NHL history. So they showed up twice. Scotty Bowman then moved over to the Habs and coached the legendary Habs teams of the 70s, which is where we see the next repeat, which was 77-78, the Habs, which at this point was powered by Guy Lafleur, Larry Robinson, and of course Ken Dryden on the back end versus the Bobby Orr era Boston Bruins, coached by Don Cherry. Of course, that's the closest John Terry ever got to a Stanley Cup, was winning 2 games of a final series.
Deserved.
The next time it happened was 83 and 84, which is the Islanders versus the Oilers. So 83 was the end of the Islanders' 4 consecutive championships. Famously, the apocryphal story goes that as the Oilers they poked their head into the Islanders dressing room and saw how beaten and banged up they were, and they realized how tough they had to get. It didn't happen, but it's a good story.
Everybody loves a story.
Everyone loves a story. The Islanders won 19 consecutive playoff series.
Wow.
To get there. And obviously that's never been done since.
Whew.
After that, it didn't happen again until the Red Wings versus the Penguins in 2008, 2009. So the Red Wings were on the tail end of their kind of semi-dynasty team. Steve Yzerman, Nick Lidstrom, Henrik Zetterberg, Pavel Datsyuk, guys who had won in the 90s and 2002. And of course, the Penguins had some young guys, Sidney Crosby. Very much a passing of a torch moment. And now we come back to the Panthers, who are not quite as established as the Wings were, but certainly we are looking for the greatest player of his generation to win his first cup. So that's one of the things that's really interesting with the last 3 times it's happened. It's really great team, versus the generational player. And in all three cases, the generational player falls short the first time. So I don't think Connor McDavid is going to let that team fall short again. That's kind of argument from history here.
I wouldn't be surprised either way. I mean, he's definitely got the want, the work. If that was all it took, he'd have a cup by now. It's a team game. He can't be on the ice 60 minutes.
No, but we'll see, I suppose.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will. We will.
What,
I just hope it's not a freaking lopsided series. Ugh.
Oh yeah, no. Like I said, I really wanted to go 7. The series last year was just, you could have a couple lopsided games.
Oh, the series last year was weird though, because it was the Panthers won the first 3, and then the Oilers won the next 3, and then it went as a game 7.
That's the same thing that happened in 2006, last time the Oilers made the finals before that. Huh. I don't know. But we also had that huge meltdown with Bobrovsky where he just had that terrible game that basically sunk his Conn Smythe chances. And we also had all the lovely bitching from the writers. And because of the Trump tariffs, there's no more direct flights between Edmonton and Fort Lauderdale. So they're all going to have to change flights now.
Wait, were there direct flights before?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
I think, I feel like Wyshynski kept complaining about having to change flights. He was like, I have to change flights in either Winnipeg or Minnesota, and he kept complaining, or Atlanta.
Well, just because a direct flight exists doesn't mean that the organizations are going to book the writers on it.
Right. So, like, I don't think that most of them were getting direct flights last year. I don't know. Maybe Russo was.
Elliot Friedman.
Yeah. Some of I'm sure they'll ship the broadcasters on team planes. At least they'll be able to sleep. But yeah, I think it's going to be kind of brutal for a lot of people. Yes, Leif.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm looking forward to it. Folks, let us know what you think by jumping on our Discord or hitting us up on Bluesky or Instagram. But until next week, you've been listening to The Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. We're at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord to join our Discord. We're on Instagram, Bluesky, and YouTube at Neutral Zone Hotel. Give us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice, or click the like button if you're listening to YouTube. I can flood these lines because John plays music over them anyway. Always, we thank our friend Emily Mowbray for designing our logo, and we will catch you next time, folks. Take care.